The thing that I see holds coaches back more than anything when it comes to putting themselves out in the world is the fact they think they have to be original. What we're typically doing when we're waiting to create content is we're trying to be revolutionary. The first thing that I want to help you to understand one of the things I see all the time with coaches, and I've been in the coaching industry now for the better part of a decade. I've worked with thousands and thousands of coaches, a lot of you on the EverCoach platform. And one of the things I see all the time, and I saw it in myself, and I still see it in myself, is this tendency to wait to do the things we know we need to do in our business, right? I remember I spoke at a property management conference years ago, and the person who put on the conference was one of my private clients. He owned a property management company. And he said, you have a choice. You can be the opening keynote or the closing keynote. And I said, cool, well, tell me about what's on the agenda. What is everybody doing there? And so he says, well, we have all these strategic things that are happening, all these different things that are going on throughout the weekend to tell people about how to use video and lead generation and all these things. I said, great. I would love to be the closing speaker on one condition. And he said, what's the condition? And I said, the condition is that I get to call my talk why what you learned this weekend still will not work for you. And he trusted me enough and he said, yes. He's a terrible judge of character. And what I went up there and talked to them about was the fact that we have all these amazing strategies. If you're a part of the Mind Valley and EverCoach platforms, you're getting tons of strategies. You're getting tons of practices, things you could be doing to grow your business, things you could be doing to grow yourself. And yet a lot of times we still wait to do those things. And as coaches, we're constantly being pressed up against our edges, whether it's in a session where there's something really, kind of edgy that we want to say to a client and we feel that energy in us kind of bundling up. And some of us say, you know what, maybe next session. I think next session or maybe an email 6 weeks from now, I'll tell them the thing that I saw in that session. And we wait to create content. We wait to be on more sales conversations and enrollment conversations. The waiting has become so pervasive that I wanted to come here and talk about this because if you think about this, does anybody remember the Would You Rather game when you were a kid? Like, would you rather be stung on the lip by 47 bees or drink a gallon of milk that's spoiled and been out in the sun for a week, right? And if you notice the would you rather stuff, there's always two shitty things. It's never like, do you want to, be punched in the face by Mike Tyson or win $1 million? And then it's like, well, that's easy. But when the would you rathers both suck, then it's like, where do you go from there? And that's what I see so much is when you think about creating content or you think about selling, you go, yeah, I fucking love creating content. It's so much fun. I can't wait to sell. Selling is the best. And I really want to help you understand that you don't have to be this way. Right? It doesn't have to be something where you're terrified. And I mean, this is something, by the way, I will apologize now in advance of the fact this will be in your nightmares tonight. You will see this again. You will just be in the comfort of your own bed when you see it. And this is not something that's just for new coaches. Experienced coaches go through waiting stuff as well. I am what you would call an experienced coach, I'm guessing. I still have weight problems all the time. Right? It's a part of the human condition. And so the waiting is not a strategic issue, it's an identity issue. And that's what we're going to be talking about today is how do you shift that identity? How do you shift your mindset so that taking action is just a byproduct? It's not something special. It's just something you do. I had tons of weight problems, including this kind of weight, right? My WEIGHT weight. This was me at 330 pounds. For those of you who don't know a lot about my story, and I write about that in my book, Prison Break. But in this part of my life, I knew there were things that I needed to be doing for my health, but I kept waiting. And professionally, I knew that I wanted to leave my corporate job and become an entrepreneur, but I kept waiting. And I waited to write my book because I was afraid that it wouldn't live up to like my mentor standards, like that even means anything. And I waited to start my first company because I was worried about leaving a corporate job. And I worried about closing my first company because I was worried about what the investors would say and what the public would say and failing in public and all this waiting that was occurring. And so that's really, really what I want to talk to you guys about today. And the first thing we're going to talk about is content. Now, raise your hand if you are terrified of putting yourself out in the world and creating content. Anybody? Yeah, I love that somebody wooed. Thank you for that, right? This shit's not that serious. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I was on a podcast recently, and a woman brought me on to talk about how to have more playfulness in your life. And I noticed throughout the course of the interview that she was getting really serious about extracting the framework for playfulness from me. And so we have this whole interview, and at the end, she goes, what's the last, this is not her voice, I'm just making it up. What's the last words of wisdom that you would love to leave people with at the end of this interview? And I thought about it for a second, and I thought about how serious it had gotten, and I was like, that none of this fucking matters. But here's the thing, none of it fucking matters, and it all matters, right? We are, as Nancy Klein says, both essential and irrelevant. And it's important for us to recognize that. It's essential that you're all doing the work that you do because people need the help. but you're also irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, and hopefully that humbles us enough to take the action we need to take. But we're gonna dive deeper. First, we're gonna start with content. Now, the thing that I see that holds people back content-wise more than anything that I've ever seen, and I'm not gonna be talking about strategically, like how to create content and all that stuff, but the thing that I see holds coaches back more than anything when it comes to putting themselves out in the world is the fact they think they have to be original. Do you guys ever feel that way? Like, oh, but this has been said a bunch of times. That person said it. That person has more experience. Who the hell am I to be saying this stuff, right? And here's the thing about originality. If no one's done it before, there's probably a good reason. Like, look at this fucking weirdo. But in all actuality, what we're typically doing when we're waiting to create content is we're trying to be revolutionary. Right? I need to be revolutionary. I need to change the game. I need to share something that's never been seen. The likes that humanity has never witnessed before. Doesn't sound daunting at all. So the first thing that I want to help you to understand here is that I want you to stop trying to be revolutionary, right? You're not Tom Cruise discovering fire for the first time, or Tom Hanks rather, God, Tom Cruise. Sorry, Scientology. I want you to stop trying to be revolutionary. And instead, I want you to focus on being evolutionary. Evolutionary. So what does that mean? How do you be evolutionary? Well, you take whatever's been done. You take the things that have inspired you. You take the things that have been transformative for you, the things you love, the things you've learned, and you bring yourself into it. It evolves as you evolve, and that becomes what you share, right? It's not about you creating this brand new, unique thing that's never been seen before. It's about you taking the things that have already inspired you, putting your spin on them, and then releasing them out into the world. So I want to give you some examples of what this can look like in a real way, and we're about to do audio, so let's make sure we have audio good if you could. Thank you very much. So anybody know the song Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash? Show of hands. Wow, that's amazing. I love that. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, this is the song.
Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring.
He looks like a lot of fun. So that's Ring of Cash. Ring of Fire. Ring of Cash is my next Evercoach quest. Look out for that one in the fall. So that's the song Ring of Fire, Johnny Cash. Now, you could say, oh man, there's just something about that that's really inspiring, but now it's been done, so I guess I can never do it again. And then you come across American Idol and a guy called Adam Lambert. Anybody remember Adam Lambert? Yeah? Here's Adam Lambert on American Idol singing the same song.
Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring, bound by a wild desire.
Killing the fucking emo bangs, isn't he?
I fell into a ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. Went down, 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 and the flames got...
Okay, so before we go into the next thing, that was the exact same song. But did you have the same experience of it as you did with Johnny Cash? Adam Lambert made the Adam Lambert version. He's darker, he's sultrier, he's emo as shit. The amount of therapy his parents must have paid for as a kid, I just can't even imagine. Probably went bankrupt buying black nail polish. But notice how he made it his own. He didn't change a single word of that song, and nobody for a minute would say, oh, look at him trying to bite Johnny Cash. Look at him trying to rip off Johnny Cash. Nobody would have said that. And here's a third example that takes it even further. Now watch her. She is a vocal coach. She is not a singer. So this is a twofer. This is an Inception example. So what you're gonna see here is that there's people here singing a cappella, and then listen to what she does.
One, two, three. Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring, and bound by a wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire.
So So we have the a cappella
that was a
group
fantastic
who is doing their version of
what
that.
it
And then we
means
have her
to
now
sing
taking
solo
that and
line
not
and
creating
also
new
to blend. So you might
content
notice
by
that
singing the
they're
song her own
blending
way,
together and they
but
also
using
sing
her
together
skills to
quite well.
comment on what
They're
somebody
not
else
putting any
did.
of their
She's just
individual
engaging
talents
with
into
somebody
that sound,
else's content.
and it's because
And that's how
it's
she
too
created her
much of a
content.
sound that is unique.
That's about as unoriginal as you can be. You're literally just talking about somebody else's content. And yet it perfectly showcases her, what she's about, her beliefs, her values, her philosophy on music and what it takes to be powerful as a singer. So do you see that? Do you see how you can be evolutionary with what you're doing instead of trying to be revolutionary? Make some noise if that resonates for you. So what all three of them did was they were very aware of their superpower, right? They know who they are. They know what makes them them. And this is the biggest thing that I see missing when coaches are trying to put themselves out there in the world more and trying to get over the waiting, is that they don't want to put themselves into their content. I say this all the time. Your success, especially if you're creating content, and by the way, guys, this is not like a social media only thing. There are plenty of businesses that were built before social media ever existed. You don't have to do social media, but content also means books and talks and courses. The content is everything, right? It's everywhere. And so knowing how to create really powerful content is really important. And knowing who you are, your personality, your quirks, your culture, your upbringing, bringing all of that stuff into what you do is what really truly makes you an original when you're creating content. So what I call that in my world is I call that your HOF. Oh, wait, sorry. Wrong HOF. That's from my personal collection. HOF stands for Hangout Factor, okay? You want to be able to show people your Hangout Factor. Hangout Factor is, man, you see Ajit on stage. How many of you seeing Ajit on stage, whether it was in person here for the first time or on YouTube or something else, said, man, I would love to just like grab a beer with Ajit? Does anybody feel that way? Yeah. Does anybody see Nita and say, man, I would love to just like have a glass of wine with her and just like talk mama stuff, right? Make some noise for Nita and Ajit. That's because their hangout factor is high. They don't hide who they are, they showcase who they are. It's not about self-promotion, it's about self-expression. And that's what connects you to people. Our mirror neurons, our empathy receptors, they're constantly scanning the people in our world to say, are you like me or are you not like me? If you're like me, I want to pull you closer to me. If you're not like me, I'm running for the fucking hills. Right? So it's so important that we share those parts of us. So when it comes to the content stuff, I really want you to think about this. Be evolutionary and not revolutionary, and really bring your HOF into the equation as much as possible. Yes? Yes. Awesome. Okay. Sales. What words do you think of when you think of sales? We got a woo? That's great. I love that. What other words? Yell them out. Money? What? Fun? I think I heard fun. Amazing. Work? Scary? What was it? Yeah, no thank you? Yeah, exactly, okay. So, yeah, I mean, this is all amazing, right? The sales thing is huge. So, there's a major thing that I see causing coaches to wait. And again, every time I say coaches, it's my narcissistic way of not outing myself. Yeah, coaches, they do this. Me, never had the problem. So yes, I've experienced all this stuff myself. When it comes to lead generation, being in more conversations, all these things, that can be scary, right? It can be kind of edgy. Like reaching out to people, offering them coaching sessions, and you're like, well, I know I can make a difference if I can just get somebody in front of me, like then I feel good, but the process of getting them into the conversation feels really icky and heavy and pushy. I get that. And so I want to share with you what I call the help wanted syndrome. So help wanted syndrome is the thing that I see hold more coaches back around sales and enrollment conversations than anything else. And here's what this means. If you want to be a server at a restaurant, there are a few different ways you can try to get a job as a server in a particular restaurant. Number one, you can wait until they have a help wanted sign in the window. And then you walk in and you apply for the job. That's freaking amazing. In coaching, that would be the same as somebody reaching out to you and saying, hey, I've been watching your content, saw you on YouTube, a friend told me about you, I really am interested in your coaching. That's fantastic. We love when that happens, right? When people reach out to us and we don't have to do the hard part, they actually come to us first, fantastic. That doesn't happen all the time, right? I want us to be the source of our success when it comes to building our coaching business, not wait and hope that people will come into our world. So if we wait for the sign to be posted in the window, we're gonna have some troubles. The other side of this, though, is you could get the job by there not being a sign in the window and you just barrel in, go to the manager and say, you're hiring me. Now that, in the coaching world, looks like this, and I'd love to hear with whatever sound you want to make, and I'm not even going to tell you what sound. You'll know what sound to make when you hear this. How many of you have been friended by somebody on Facebook, and as soon as you accept their friend request, you get the message in your inbox and your messenger saying, hey, you still trying to scale your coaching business to 6 figures? On LinkedIn, it happens everywhere, right? And this is the second version of this, right? Barreling in when there's no sign whatsoever. But there's a third way. And the third way is you go into the restaurant and you get a table and you order dinner and you see what's happening in the restaurant, and you notice there's one server that's running their ass off back and forth trying to serve 10 different tables. They're sweating, they're messing up orders, things are going back to the kitchen, and you notice all this, and you go up to the manager of the restaurant and you say, hey, I love this place, I love eating here, you guys have just the greatest food, the lasagna just kills me every time. I just noticed this server, who's great by the way, seems to really be overworked. Like they really seem to be dealing with a lot. Have you guys thought about bringing anybody else in to help them out? And the manager goes, oh man, yeah, I would love to. I don't really know where to find somebody. I've just been so busy, but yeah, I get it. I mean, this person's so stressed out. And you go, well, that may be something I can help with. I've been a server for a number of years. I love your restaurant. Maybe there's something we can do together here. You see how different that is than waiting for the sign or barreling in when there's no sign? Think about how that could impact you in your coaching conversations or even in reaching out to people, being in their world. Don't worry about figuring out how to invite them to a conversation. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just connect. Not coach to prospect, but human to human. Just connect with people. And so that's one of the big things that I want you to keep in mind. Now, the next thing we're gonna go to, and I'm going kind of fast because I got a short amount of time and I got a lot of stuff I want to share with you guys. So this is a really, really big one here, and this is where I get to contradict myself because it's my talk, and so I get to do whatever the hell I want. We're all here because we're coaches, yes? Yes. Awesome. Yeah, you're proud of that. Yes, I'm a coach. So there was a woman that I was dating years ago who was a huge animal lover, major animal lover. And she would go to the circus anytime the circus came into town, and she would stand out in front of the circus and she would picket. She would be there with a sign about the unethical treatment of the elephants. And she would stand out there for hours at a time, and people would yell at her and scream at her and say, get a job, you effing hippie, and like all these things. And just really, really mean stuff. And she was unwavering. She would still go back every time, didn't faze her in the slightest. And you know why? It's because she's an activist. Activists don't have time to worry about what people will think of them. Activists aren't sitting there thinking, oh, but should I be doing this? Am I the right person to do this? Or, oh, the market is so saturated with coaches, it's gonna be so hard to do this. Maybe I shouldn't be a coach. That's like saying we don't need more cancer researchers because there's plenty of people doing that. Of course we do, because cancer is still affecting a lot of people. And as long as sadness and depression and anxiety and a lack of possibilities and a lack of purpose, as long as that's affecting people, we need more fucking coaches. But for now, drop the label of coach and just be an activist. I mean, think about that mindset shift. If you go out into the world as an activist, how that feels different from going out into the world as a coach who's trying to build their business. Does that resonate with you guys? Yeah. Activist, baby, activist. And Sid mentioned it earlier. A big part of being an activist is really understanding what is it you're an activist for. So for me, I realized early on from a very young age, and I didn't have the language for this back then, but now in kind of retrospect, I see it. This whole idea of wanting to leave everybody I meet with at least 5% more joy than I found them actually has a flip side to it as well. The flip side of it is that it's actually about me wanting to leave people with at least 5% less suffering than when I found them, right? That's a big key for me. And that's just from my upbringing as a kid. I always did that because I felt so much suffering and because I just wanted to experience joy. And so I helped other people do that instead, and that brought me the things that I was looking for. So if you want to be an activist, first of all, a couple little easy things to do to find your activist thing. Number one, look back when you were a kid, see what you got love and approval and praise for. Number two, look back when you were a kid and see what you got in trouble for. That's where I found mine. I got in trouble for talking too much and being the class clown. You're welcome. So I really want you to find that for yourself. Figure out what is the 5% for you. What do you want to leave the world or the people you interact with 5% more or 5% less of, right? And once you know what that thing is, go out into the world as an activist, devoid of all these bullshit inner stories that are telling you, you shouldn't do this, who am I to be doing this, they don't need my help, any of these things. Get rid of all that and just be an activist. Just make a difference. As Werner Erhard would say, go find what is needed and wanted and produce it. That's all you have to do. Okay, the last thing, thank you very much. Okay, and the last thing here that I wanna share with you, we're actually gonna go look at the game of Jenga. Has anybody here ever played Jenga before? Love Jenga, especially life-size Jenga. So this is Al Roker and the Today Show team, the Today Show, very popular morning show in the States, playing Jenga. First of all, Al Roker is the worst Jenga player in the world. Who goes for that piece that early in the game? Sabotage. Okay. But I want you to notice something here, because there's a very important lesson for us as coaches. Notice the body language of everybody that's around the structure. They're tense, and they're kind of tentative, and they're trying to protect the thing, and oh my God, I hope it doesn't fall down. And this moron jumps behind Al like it's gonna explode in his face. But notice how serious this whole game feels. And the game of coaching can feel like the same thing. It is a game, but a game that we often take too seriously. Do you ever feel like you're taking the game a little too seriously? I definitely do. I laugh at myself all the time for how seriously I take shit. But what this illustrates here for you is a belief that I have. The belief that I have is anything that you make the center of your universe, you are going to use all of your energy to try to protect it from failing or falling apart. Anything you make the center of your universe, I don't care if it's your business, I don't care if it's your relationship, I don't care if it's parenting, I don't care if it's health, I don't care if it's any of those things. Anything you make the center of your universe, you are going to use all of your power and your energy to try to protect it from failing or falling apart. And that's such a big thing. And I actually brought this up. I was speaking to a group of 40 women in this leadership group, and I shared this, and one woman raised her hand, and she goes, so I don't make any of that stuff the center of my universe, and then what happens? I lose my clients, my kids don't get fed, everything falls apart in life. I said, well, that's one option. But the other option is this. If you're gonna make anything the center of your universe, make it your own experience of peace and ease. If you make peace and ease the center of your universe, I don't know about you, but if I have a child that needs to be fed, or clients who are counting on me, or business that I need to take care of, and I don't do what I know that I can do, that does not contribute to my sense of peace and ease. It detracts from my sense of peace and ease. So if I make my own peace and ease the center of my universe and nothing else, I will be in a place where I can be more creative. I won't be so held down by these stories of why I should be waiting, okay? And when we think about this, and this is such a big thing, right? Because a big part of this, and a big part of all of this for me in what I coach and what I teach, and of course what I try to do for myself as much as possible, is to decrease the significance that we're putting on the things that we're doing. That's the thing, right? Decrease the significance. Anybody here who knows who Gary Vee is? Gary Vee fans? Yeah. So whether you like his message or not, or whatever, it's fine. It's not about his message. But I remember watching a video from him one time that really blew my mind. Does anybody here know his pre-talk ritual before he comes up on stage and does something like this? Anybody know? Yeah. So he didn't share it, but I just kind of gathered it by watching the video. So I'm watching a video. He's about to come up and do a keynote for however many hundreds of thousands of dollars he gets paid now. And he's standing off on the side of the stage, and he's on his phone, and he's just typing, doing whatever. And they go, "Welcome to the stage, Gary Vee." And he just puts his phone in his pocket and he walks on stage. It's like, that's amazing. Do you know what he's doing there, right? He's not making being up here any more significant than being over there on his phone. As soon as I need to psych myself up and say affirmations and mantras and do all these different things to make sure I don't come up here and fail because I've made the talk the center of my universe, instead I transition from being on my phone there to not being on my phone here. Simple, right? So that's why I want to look at this. One last thing here is when you look at the Nike slogan, everybody knows the Nike slogan, right? Just do it. The word that we focus on when we have this is the word do. Right? Just do it. The problem is, if I was going to do it, I would have done it by now. And to focus on the word do negates the mindset that's required to be somebody who does. And so I instead want to focus on a different word here. Now, I want you guys to shout out which word you think it is, and you have a 50-50 chance. Which word do you think I think is most important here? God, you guys are good. Just do it. Right? Just like you just brush your teeth, you just take out the trash. I had a client one day who was like, I need to do this with my content, I need to do this with my enrollment conversations. And I said, why? She goes, because then I'll be a serious coach and I'll be a serious entrepreneur and my family will finally take me seriously. And I said, cool. And how's that working out for you? Not very well. Cool. What if you did all those things because it's Thursday and that's just what you do on Thursday? Hadn't occurred to her before. So you can do that. You don't have to wait for some crazy bolt of inspiration. You don't have to have the perfect working conditions or the perfect ideas. You can do what William Faulkner says. He says, I only write when inspiration strikes. Luckily, it strikes every morning at 9 a.m. You can choose. You can choose to sit down and say, this is just what I do. I don't need a work ethic any more than I need a toothbrushing ethic or a telling my partner I love them ethic. I don't have ethics for that. It's just what I do. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. Okay. So I may go a couple minutes over. I hope that's okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. Well, I mean, you guys aren't the organizers, but thank you. That was more for the team, but I love that I got the approval. The team will have to fight with all of you if they're upset. So what I want to do is I do want to take you through an exercise. But you guys don't do cat yoga? Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to take you through an exercise, and it's an exercise that I've created it was for myself first and foremost, as is everything that I've ever created. And it's something I do with my clients all the time. And it's something that we're going to turn to Batman. Batman is going to be our inspiration. I love this picture so much. Holy shit, I'm Batman. So here's what we're going to do. First thing is, I want you to think about something that you know needs to be done in your business that will move the needle forward. Whether it's creating content, whether it's outlining the structure for one of your courses, whether it's writing a blog post, whether it's reaching out to a prospect, or re-reaching out, following up with a prospect, or proposing some fee that kind of scares you. Just think of one thing, and go ahead and take a second and just write that down. I'll give you just a minute. If we can play some really soft music, like emo meets, no, I'm kidding. Play whatever soft music you have, just for a minute. Write down what is one thing that you know would move the needle if you took action on it right now that you've been waiting on. All right, and once you have that written down, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to check in, close your eyes for just a moment, and picture yourself sitting down to do that thing, and ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being joyful, expansive, creative, can't wait to do that, and 10 being, oh my God, what the fuck was I thinking, leaving my cushy job to become a stupid coach? How do you feel when you think about doing that thing right now? Where's your scare level on a scale of 1 to 10? Just check in with that. And once you have it, go ahead and write that down on your paper as well. Everybody good on that? Cool. Okay. We can kill the music now for a second. Thank you so much. So hold on to that. We're going to get back to that in just a second. So what I want to walk you through right now is my Batman strategy. So my Batman strategy is what is an essential tool in my toolbox that I use on myself every day, literally every day. And it goes like this. It's an identity shifting exercise. So I'm just going to pick on people that I know. So Bianca, let's just, you don't have to do anything. Don't worry, you're fine. She's like, oh my God, I'm not prepared. Come on stage. No, I'm kidding. So imagine you're the director of Batman, the movie, right? And there's been tons of Batman. Who can yell out an actor that played Batman? Anybody? Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton. Thank you for being a purist. If anybody says Ben Affleck, I swear to God, I'm sacrilege. What about Val Kilmer? Shut up. Michael Keaton is the only Batman worth talking about. Okay. Oh God, Christian Bale. Come on. Okay, whatever. Anyways. Adam West is the original Batman, but that's TV. It's semantics. Stop it. Okay, so Bianca, you're directing Michael Keaton in Batman. You're filming a scene. He's doing his whole Batman thing, and you yell cut, and you're talking to your team. You're getting ready for the next scene, and you look over and you see Batman pacing back and forth on the set. He looks really stressed out. So Bianca, you're the director. You want to make sure your star's okay. So you walk up and you say, "What's going on? What's happening?" You look stressed. And he goes, "Oh, Bianca, I don't know. Like, what if I'm not strong enough to beat the Joker? What if my tech is not powerful enough? What if the people of Gotham City die and it's all my fault? What am I supposed to do with that?" You're looking at him like, what the fuck is he talking about? He gets that it's a movie, right? So you have two choices now as the director. Number one, you can say, "Okay, Batman, Let's figure out how to make your tech stronger. Looking around, what the fuck do I do? Or number two, you can help him to understand that he is Michael Keaton playing the role of Batman, right? And once we realize that we are Michael Keaton playing the role of Batman, Batman's problems feel less significant. It doesn't mean they don't exist. In his world, in the role that he is playing, that is everything to him. For the role of Batman, he needs to think about that. If you are cast as a bank robber in a movie, and you get on set and they say action and you walk in gingerly and you say, "Hi everybody, anybody want to just like give me a few dollars?" And no, this is dumb, I don't need this. Does anybody have just a few bucks? They're like, "What are you doing? You're a bank robber." You kick in the door and you put the gun in people's face and you demand money. But imagine the challenges in that person's life if they go home thinking they're still the bank robber. Imagine the challenges with their partners, with their kids, with their friends, if they are still living out of the projection that I am a bank robber. And that's what we do. Every day we wake up and we play some role. Those roles for me sometimes are, today I'm playing the role of Jason, the overwhelmed entrepreneur who's pissed off that this project's not getting off the ground fast enough. That is the role I've been cast in, and let me tell you, I am Oscar fucking award-winning level at playing that role. I crush that role and every other role that I play that keeps me in my place and keeps me small and keeps me waiting. So when you really help Michael Keaton to understand that, hey, before you put on the Batman outfit, what were you doing? And he goes, "Oh, I was in hair and makeup." "Well, what did you do before hair and makeup?" "Well, I drove to the studio." "Where'd you drive from?" "My house with my kids and my wife." "Wait a second, I'm not fucking Batman, I'm Michael Keaton. What the fuck am I doing?" And immediately, right then, when you aren't attached to that role, you immediately have more expansive ideas. There's more possibilities available to you. So here's what I want you to do for the end of this exercise. Go ahead and close your eyes again. If we get some meditation music for a minute, that'd be great. So I want you to, in your head, call out the role that you are playing when you feel whatever you're feeling with the thing you said you've been waiting to do. Whatever you wrote down a few minutes ago that you've been waiting to do, what's that role? Say it in your head. Say, "Today I am playing the role of Nancy, who's terrified of sharing their message with the world." Whatever that feels like for you, just say it internally to yourself. And now from that space, ask yourself, how does it feel without an attachment to that role? Notice I didn't say, how does it feel if we get rid of that role? Or how does it feel if we overcome that role? Or how does it feel when we reframe that role? You don't have to touch the role. The role can be what it is. But how do you feel without an attachment to that role? Right here, right now, being where your feet are. How does that feel? Does it feel more joyful, more peaceful? Does it feel more stressful, more anxiety-inducing? That's all welcomed here. But notice that for yourself. Just sit with that for a moment. And I'd like for you guys to all open your eyes and go back to that paper and now write down again on a scale of 1 to 10, what number do you feel now thinking about taking action on that thing without an attachment to that role that you were just exploring? Take just a minute and write that down. See if your numbers change from what it was originally. Check in with that. Picture sitting down without an attachment to that role or identity. How do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being joyful, creative, expansive. 10 being, oh my God, I'm so fucking terrified, I'm gonna poop myself. Where do you fall on that scale now? Now, did anybody's number go down? A show of hands, meaning that you're more joyful thinking about it, more peaceful thinking about it. Great, that's amazing. That's awesome. Keep this exercise handy for yourself. And anytime you're feeling this level of stress where things are feeling too significant, that's what I want you to do. I want you to really ask yourself when you're taking the things you're doing a little too seriously, even 5% too seriously. See if you can use this tool to lower the significance that you feel around that thing. Is that helpful? Yeah. Okay. I love you guys so much. I love the EverCoach and Mind Valley community. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this family, and thank you all for being you. Love you guys so much.